So we've been in 30 days of gratitude. November, of course, it's gratitude month, right? Thanksgiving. Everybody getting ready for their big Thanksgiving dinner? Me too. I think we're going to have 2 or 3 of them, actually. I think we're going out to dinner because it's also my daughter's 26th birthday, and she wants to have a fancy dinner. So we're going to go out to a fancy restaurant probably for her dinner. We have some reservations, but I also want to cook. I mean, there's just something really special about having those leftovers, and you can make soup and sandwiches and pot pies and
turkey forever.
All that stuff. So I think we're gonna have plenty, lots of good turkey, lots of good things. But you know, yesterday we had 111 Tibetan healing bowls in here. And there were several of you that were here yesterday afternoon from 2 until 5. We had the greatest folks come in. Dr. Dream is the name he goes by. And 3 hours of essential oil infused chocolates, essential oils that we could smell and let absorb into our skin, and then Tibetan bowls. And I saw him in Missouri, and when I was in Missouri in June, I said, will you please, please, please come to Titusville? And they did. And it was an amazing event. How many of you here were at it? Yay, awesome. It was a packed house. It was really wonderful. And everybody that I've talked to so far had really a great experience. Thank you very much. So, anyway, let's see. So a couple of weeks ago, we had a big church visioning, and those who were able came, and we talked about what it is that we do here, what we believe we do here. You know, I laugh about that. You know, perception's everything, right? What we believe we do here, what we believe we do well, what we need to spruce up a little bit, and what we need to drop off. We looked at what our core values are, what we want our church to look like 5 years from now. We're looking at putting together potentially a new mission statement, a new vision statement. And it was wonderful. We gathered lots and lots of data. Lots of data. Everybody participated. It was awesome. And Nancy and I have all this data and all these charts and everything that we get to spread out and gather the data together and have it ready for the next board meeting. And the board will go over it at their next meeting. And then we're going to come back and ask you guys to come back again. And we're going to define it even better and even more clear. And get down, keep going until we get down to the root of who we want to be. The best that we want to be. How we want to influence the world. How we want to influence our community. All that great stuff. And I can tell you yesterday, talking about influencing the community, because that's really been a big focus for us, is trying to get out into our community. Ever since that visit that Nancy and I had, we found out that those ministers who were working right across the street had no idea we even existed. We decided that perhaps we needed to do something a little different so people would know who we are, right? And yesterday, there were a total of 59 people here yesterday, which was nice. Over half of them had never been to the church before. So that's very exciting for us. So the next time I make a call for the part 2 of the visioning, anyone who would care to participate, please come. It isn't only open to those that were here before. We want everybody's input, so we'll keep you updated on that and let you know when our next step is, okay? Let's see. So, I really do love my family. Really. Exclamation point, question mark. Anybody relate to that app? Oh, yeah. You know, the holidays are so wonderful. Christmas, as you already know, is my very, very favorite holiday, and Christmas music is my very, very favorite music. And some of you know that I play Christmas music all the time, year-round. But once November hits, I can play it with my window down, and people won't look down there, right? I just love Christmas, everything about it. And Thanksgiving leads to that, right? And Thanksgiving is that first time that as many of my family can get together, they try to. That's that first time. And it's always interesting how, well, let's just say, anybody else think they have a dysfunctional family? I wonder truly if dysfunctional families is like a genetic predisposed thing for us. It's the only way. If we were too doggone comfortable, we'd never leave home, right? We'd never find a reason to work on ourselves. We'd never find a reason to search for God. If everything was wonderful, we'd never grow up and leave and change and try to do things better than our parents did and all that fun stuff. So I wonder if it isn't like genetically predisposed. Is that the word? Yeah. And I was thinking, well, were there any dysfunctional families in the Bible? And actually an easier question would have been, were there any functional families in the Bible? You know, let's start with the first family, not the president. We're not even going there. Not going there. But the first family as in Adam and Eve. Yes. Right? Adam and Eve. Eve supposedly tricked Adam into eating an apple. Now, we ladies all know that Adam would have eaten the apple on Sunday anyway. Right? Please. So supposedly she tricked him into eating the apple, which got them evicted from their current residence. Right? And they ended up having to go live somewhere that wasn't nearly as nice. Now, if that wasn't enough trouble, later on, one of their sons, Cain, killed the other son, Abel. And then Cain had to beat town and be on the run. We never heard from him again. That's pretty dysfunctional. Noah. Oh, Noah. Now, Noah's funny. He sails around the ocean blue. Yeah, he sails around the flooded earth with a whole bunch of animals and his family, right? And as soon as he hits ground and is able to leave that boat, he gets naked and plastered. Who has that member?
Who was that member?
No, not me.
No names.
Praise God. No. Yeah, so he gets naked and plastered. And his son, one of his sons, isn't crazy about it, and he, gives him a hard time about it, so curses him, and I would imagine he didn't get invited to the next Thanksgiving dinner. See, then Jacob, Jacob, he had 12 sons, and the baby,
Joseph?
thank you. I love this. I'm so glad that you guys know your Bible. That's lovely. And the youngest one, Joseph, the baby of the family. Anybody the baby of the family? Aha! It explains so much. Well, Jacob decides to buy Joseph a designer coat. This did not make the other 11 brothers very happy. They all get together and they decide that they're going to dig a hole and kill him and bury him in the hole. Pretty drastic, right? So the older brother goes, really, that's a bit drastic. Why don't we just sell him into slavery to the Egyptian thugs that are coming through town?
Oh, that's so much better.
Yes, so much better. I mean, major dysfunction. And then we've got Jesus' family, Mary and Joseph. They left Jesus on a road trip to Jerusalem. They didn't know that he wasn't with them. When they realized it, they had to turn around and go back and get him, and they find him in a temple and make him get back on the donkey, whether he wants to go or not. I mean, there's no parent award happening for Mary and Joseph at that point, right? Yeah, leaving their kid. Major dysfunction. And then, bless his heart, when he decides to go into his ministry, they all think he's gone crazy. He has to leave town and go start his ministry outside of his family. The good news is that by the end of his ministry, the rift had been fixed. One of his brothers became a major leader of the church. The whole entire family had moved in with the Nazarenes, which was like the way congregation at the time. So by the end of his ministry, the whole family had come back around. But can you imagine the dinners that they were having before that happened? What's up with Jesus? You know, what do you think he's doing? I think we need to call in somebody and get some help for him. Because they were seriously thinking they needed to get help for him, that he was not doing so well. So we are not the only, the first, or the last people to have dysfunction in our families. That's just the way it goes. So while I was doing my research for this for this talk, I had a blast, but I was trying to find a video to show you guys of dysfunctional families at Thanksgiving. And no matter what I Googled, the only thing that came up were lots and lots of Saturday Night Live videos. And I laughed and laughed and laughed because I could relate to the craziness. I could absolutely relate to each and every one of them. Unfortunately, not one of them was appropriate for me showing in the church. But they didn't keep me from laughing because I get it. I get it. So I can tell you about them now. The first one was 4 cousins who'd been sent to the basement to eat at the kids' table. They were well into their 30s, but they had been eating at the kids' table their entire life, and one more Thanksgiving, Aunt Mary sent them down to the basement to eat at the kids' table. And they're complaining the whole way down that they're eating, we've always had to do this. Why can't I just eat at the adult table one time? The whole time they're just arguing back and forth. When they sit down, it's like some kind of transformation happened, and they all turned into 9-year-olds. And they start picking at each other and poking and prodding and carrying on, and they're talking to each other the same way they've been talking to each other their entire lives. Pushing the buttons and pushing the buttons to the point the girls are hollering upstairs, "Aunt Mary, he's picking on me." I mean, these are 30-year-olds, happen just like that. And I get that. I get that. I can remember year after year after year, nobody pushes your buttons like your family. Nobody knows your buttons like your family. And year after year, I could remember sitting there at dinner or in family gatherings or whatever, and turning back into that 9-year-old, having those same conversations that we have had our entire lives. You know, I have one member of my family who still talks to me as if I'm this 18-year-old that she knew. Now, granted, that 18-year-old was pretty awful. And I know that. I know that. And I have made my amends. I have apologized multiple times. And I've worked hard. I've worked really hard to change and be a better person. But it doesn't matter. My family still sees me the way that they see me. And this particular family member still sees me as that 18-year-old. And you know, as I've been growing and changing, I've wanted a little bit of credit for that work. It's not, you know, it's not going to happen, and often never does. So we have to get used to the idea that we may not ever see that, but what we can do, the trick is to not engage. Don't engage. It's like so simple. Don't engage. about 3 years in a row, this member was saying something about me every time we got together, and I actually didn't really understand it. But I also chose not to engage, which worked really well. Deb was reminding me of a list of things that you can say to keep from engaging, like, oh, I'll give that, or I'll think about that, or
That's interesting.
that's interesting. Actually, I probably say that one all the time. That's interesting. There are things you can do not to engage, but simply smiling, thinking how much you love them, if you can do that, is a beautiful thing, right? So about 3 years went by, and every time we got together, this would be said, and I don't really get it, but I had all these stories going on in my head, and I can tell you they weren't pleasant at all. I had really bad stories made up about what all that meant. And then finally, I decided it was time to speak my truth, because speaking our truth is really, really important. We have to be able to speak our truth. The thing is that we can't speak our truth while we're angry or while we're triggered. That's just it's not successful. It never comes to good ends if you're trying to speak your truth and be angry at the same time, right? So as time went on and I was no longer angry about it, I actually turned to wonder and wondered, what in the world does that mean? And on year 3, it was said one more time, and I finally said, you know what, I don't understand what that means. Can you explain to me what that means? It was like magic. They said, oh, well then I'll just quit saying it. Yay! Magic. The next skit practicing with notes, how am I doing? The next skit was about a multi-generational family. Oh my God. They were I tell you, it was probably one of the best researches I've ever had on a talk. So a whole bunch of multi-generational, they were grandparents and parents and children, but they were all grown adults, except one. There was one that was probably about 9 years old. And there were lots of things said that were totally inappropriate. I've noticed over the last few years that as I meet with my family, sometimes one or two of them will say something that I can't even believe that came out of their mouths. Were we raised in the same house? Is that who I think that is? You know, they say something so bizarre that I'm shocked. Well, that's what was happening at this table. Things were being said, and then across the table, one of the younger ones would say something about how that's not right. It's not, you shouldn't be doing that, it's inappropriate, and blah, 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 blah. Go on, and they'd start to get riled up. And that little 9-year-old, she knew that there was a thread of something that each one of them could relate to. That there was a thread that they could relate to. She'd walk over to the boom box, hit the button, and Adele would play. Hello? And then the whole family would get up from the table and start singing hello, and they all, it was hysterical. It was hysterical. The stuff that they did in between was really not appropriate for church, but that was fabulous. And then they'd sit back down again, and a new set of grandparents came in and started talking about the people that they saw at the airport, and oh, it just got so inappropriate. Family starts up again, and that little girl goes over and hits that button, and they keep singing. Oh my goodness, it was so funny and so wonderful. But it's a great point. If you're sitting there at the table and you hear something that is just so outrageous, again, don't engage. And try to find that one thing about them that you can love. Now, I didn't say you have to like them. But let's say that, you know, they love someone that you love. And they've been caring and loving and with someone that you love for a long time. Now, of course, you can't figure out why your brother, your sister, or your cousin can even stand living with them. But the fact of the matter is that they have. And you have to respect, you don't have to, but it's a good idea to respect that. Respect the fact that this person has been stable and loving and caring for someone that you love. And love them for that. I think everybody in this room can look at anyone that you would end up at dinner with and find one little thing that you can love about them. Even if it's just an Adele song. You guys have to go home and Google that. It was hysterical. Then the third skit, it was very poignant. And wrong on so many levels, I can't even tell you. It was titled The First Thanksgiving. It involved Native Americans and a settler. You can imagine just how, it was just crazy. But the interesting thing about it, the thing that made me, like this, was they were talking about receiving guidance. You know, we talk about receiving guidance a lot. But they were talking about receiving guidance from the great fox or the great peacock. I was like, am I the only one here that's going to end up with a whole bag of mixed nuts for Thanksgiving dinner? Did everyone receive this card? Does anyone not have it? Okay, I've got some here. Oh, thank you, Nancy. Normally I would ask and just let it go, but I want everyone to have these because when we did our visioning, we introduced these as principles for how we want to treat each other. Funny how it's titled that. Principles for how we treat each other. I know it's itty bitty. I know it's itty bitty, itty bitty. You notice I made myself a large copy. So I'm going to read them to you briefly. We introduced these at the visioning as some goals for us in communicating and in working together. You know, the kids, when the Youth and Family Ministry has any kind of an event, they'll put together what they call heart agreements, that they're not going to tell anybody what was talked about, that they're not going to interrupt each other. They do heart agreements, and they write them down on the board so that they can remember them. These are our heart agreements. They came from the Peace and Justice Institute at Valencia College. And I'm going to read them to you very quickly. 1, create a hospitable and accountable community. We all arrive in isolation and need the generosity of friendly welcomes. Bring all of yourself to the work in this community. Welcome others to this place and this work, and presume that you are welcomed as well. Hospitality is the essence of restoring community. I think this community does that well. Listen deeply. Listen intently to what's said. Listen to the feelings beneath the words. Strive to achieve a balance between listening and reflecting, speaking and acting. 3, create an advice-free zone. Oh, this one's hard for me. Replace advice with curiosity as we work together for peace and justice. Each of us is here to discover our own truths. We are not here to set someone else straight, to fix what we perceive as broken in another member of the group. 4, practice asking honest and open questions. A great question is ambiguous, personal, and provokes anxiety. And we're going to have a little workshop on that one later because it's very confusing for almost everybody. I'm just teasing. It is confusing for almost everybody, but we're not having a workshop on it. Give space for unpopular answers. Answer questions honestly, even if the answer seems unpopular. Be present to listen, not debate. Correct or interrupt. Respect silence. Silence is a rare gift in our busy world. After someone has spoken, take time to reflect without immediately filling the space with words. This applies to the speaker as well. Be comfortable leaving your words to resound in the silence without refining or elaborating on what you have to say. Suspend judgment. Set aside your judgments. Be creating a space between judgments and reaction. We can listen to the other and to ourselves more fully. Identify assumptions. Our assumptions are usually invisible to us, yet they undergird our worldview. By identifying our assumptions, we can then set them aside and open our viewpoints to greater possibilities. Speak your truth. You are invited to say what is in your heart, trusting that your voice will be heard and your contribution respected. Own your truth by remembering to speak only for yourself, using the first person I rather than you or everyone clearly communicates the personal nature of your expression. When things get difficult, turn to wonder. If you find yourself disagreeing with another, becoming judgmental, or shutting down in defense, try turning to wonder. I wonder what brought her to this place. I wonder what my reaction teaches me. I wonder what he's feeling right now. That one resonates the most with me, number 10. And I invite you as we go along, if there's one that really resonates, put a little mark by it for yourself, okay? 11, practice slowing down. Simply the speed of modern life can cause violent damage to the soul. By intentionally practicing slowing down, we strengthen our ability to extend nonviolence to others and to ourselves. 12, all voices have value. Hold these moments when a person speaks as precious. Hold these moments when a person speaks as precious, because these are moments when a person is willing to stand for something, trust the group, and offer something that they see as valuable. And the last one is maintain confidentiality. Create a safe space by respecting the confidential nature and content of discussion held in the group. Allow what is said in the group to remain there. And I've decided that anytime that we gather together as a group, that we're going to go through these quickly, but with listening deeply, so that we can remind ourselves of how we truly, truly want to treat one another. What do you guys think? Good, yeah. So, I think what I want to do now is take everybody into a meditation. You know, this Thanksgiving is that's coming up on Thursday. We have our healing service Wednesday night at 7. We have the Christ within us that will maintain us and hold us no matter what. God's always working on our better behalf. We are the grown-ups in the room. Be the grown-up in the room. Do not revert back to that 9-year-old child. Don't revert back to that 18-year-old. Remain the grown-up. Don't engage. Find one thing about them that you can love and appreciate. They have it. They too are a child of God. Close your eyes and get comfortable. Focus on your breathing. I am whole and complete. I see everyone in my world equally whole, equally complete. I know that no matter where someone is in their spiritual journey, that they are perfect exactly where they're at. As am I. I see myself as being filled with love and light. The universe is available for me. Everything I could ever possibly need, I already have. May I experience that truth in my life right now. All we need is love. All we need is love. Let's take that into the silence. As we come back to this place and this time, we recognize that we have enough love for everyone that we come in contact with. There's no need to gossip, to complain, to argue. Those aren't true existence in our lives. They are not true God-powered events in our lives. God is the only one true, sustainable source of power in our life. Everything else is what we make up. Say to yourself, I will remain